Right now, the National Weather Desk, Northwest earthquake. A Sunday evening quake startles the Pacific Northwest.
And said the shaking lasted about 4 seconds.
Tornado drill. Why you can never be too prepared for a twister.
How would the hospitals respond? How would the fire department, the first responders?
Feeling the weather? Can your body actually tell you what to expect?
Every 10-degree drop in temperature is correlated with increased pain.
Frost formation. What causes it to appear on your lawn?
Frost will form in one of two ways, either by frozen dew or freezing water vapor directly into its solid form.
And we'll continue to get you ready for this weekend's annular eclipse.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. We're following big changes in the weather this week. Many of you woke up to cooler temperatures this morning. Now a coast-to-coast storm will impact dozens of states. It starts today with heavy rain in the Pacific Northwest. As the storm moves east, it will bring snow to the Rocky Mountains, especially the higher elevations. It could also trigger severe storms in the plains by midweek. And by the end of the week, the Northeast will get even more rain. We will continue to track this storm throughout the week right here on the National Weather Desk. The remnants of Tropical Storm Philippe didn't create as many problems as expected in the Northeast, but southwest of Albany was hit with extensive flooding, heavy rain on Saturday, flooding streets and damaging several streets. The county executive tweeted out these photos you're looking at right here and said these roads will remain closed until further notice. An earthquake rocked the Puget Sound region in Washington state last night. It was a 4.3 magnitude quake. The epicenter was northwest of Seattle and it lasted for about 4 seconds. Experts say the region's alert system worked, even though it did not send out notifications to phones.
It detected the earthquake quite quickly, but it determined that it wasn't large enough to meet the threshold for sending out a warning because it wasn't expected to be very strong shaking.
It was the latest in a recent series of quakes around the Pacific Ocean's Ring of Fire, and that includes Hawaii, where hundreds of small earthquakes rattled the summit of the Kilauea volcano in Hawaii, the most active volcano on Earth. Despite the increased seismic activity, experts say the volcano is not currently erupting. Parts of Volcano National Park are closed this morning. Kilauea last erupted on September 10th, but it ended just 6 days ago. Other nearby volcanoes, including Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea, are at normal status. Over on Maui, the area devastated by wildfires 2 months ago is reopening to tourists, but the region is hardly back to normal. Schools, businesses are still closed. Recovery workers staying at beachfront hotels in the town of Lahaina still closed. It was hit the hardest, you may remember. Also, some residents are not happy about the decision to welcome tourists back to the region. Last month, the Oregon Road fire burned across eastern Washington state. One man who was burned when he ran through the flames to save his neighbors is now talking about his recovery. As Natalie Grant reports, he suffered burns on 30% of his body.
It was very difficult to walk. You know, as you can see, I'm just hunched over. I mean, that was a crazy day.
Justin is now back home with his family, recovering, but says that was the moment he knew he would make it.
Honestly, it was relief that I was at an ambulance. I mean, that was like the biggest relief, was to see firefighters, an ambulance. I mean, at that moment, I knew I was going to be okay.
Since that day, Justin has undergone many intense treatments, including a skin graft on his left hand.
For a little bit, it was daunting just to even think about when I would be back or how this would even work, but this is a good step to getting back to reality.
Justin says sometimes it's hard to watch videos from that day, especially this one of the exact flames he was running through, captured by a Spokane sheriff's deputy.
The first couple times I couldn't finish it. Like, as soon as he went into it, I just had to push the phone away. I've been to Afghanistan. I've done some crazy stuff in my life, and that was probably the craziest thing I've been through in my life.
Now he's focused on healing and being with his family as they start to rebuild what was lost. But when asked if he would do it all again to help his neighbors,
in a heartbeat, if there's people that need help, I'm on my way. It's not even a thought, really. I'm going to be there.
And as the saying goes, you can never be too prepared. That is especially true when it comes to hurricanes and tornadoes. Last week, Rogers State University held a tornado drill hoping to prepare students and first responders for the real thing. Reporter Tyler Butler's in Tulsa, Oklahoma to show us what happened.
How would the hospitals respond? How would the fire department, the first responders, how would the student nurses here respond? All of them are working together in this simulation here. Several students acting out people that have been hurt, impaled during this storm, and then the nursing students are stepping in to triage those students during the situation while they wait for first responders to arrive. Then the hospital, they simulate basically a surge of people over there coming from this match casualty event. And it's practice like this that's really valuable for not just the first responders, but for the students themselves.
Triaging is really tough. You've got to make split-second decisions. Is this patient able to walk on their own? Does this one need immediate help? Is this one can be delayed? Is this one dead or dying? Because if they're almost dying, you can't, as a nurse, we want to do something for them. But in a triage situation, we don't have the resources out here. So if they are imminent, we just have to leave them and move on to the next.
Even though it's a perfectly sunny day out here, very comfortable to be outside, not a tornado in sight, you need to do drills like this, they believe, so that when that time comes, if that time comes, you're kind of ready and you have that in your muscle memory to work through these emergency procedures as quickly and safely and effectively as possible.
And you may be using a ceiling fan right now to circulate the air in your home, but there's a switch you may not know about. Meteorologist Violet Skyborg explains you need to flip it to make the fan effective in winter as well.
Did you know that your ceiling fan has a seasonal setting? Yes, there's a switch for a summer setting and winter setting that helps control the air temperature in your house. The summer setting spins the fan counterclockwise. The winter setting spins the fan clockwise. And the actual blades of the fan are tilted a little bit, putting the air in different directions. Let's explain how this actually affects what you feel in the room. The summer setting forces the air downward, producing a wind chill effect on your body, making the air feel cooler because it's pushing the warm air from your body away from you and helping to cool yourself down during those warm summer days. The winter setting, it takes warm air that's trapped up high along the ceiling and forces it to the walls and eventually pushing it down to the floor, keeping yourself warmer by keeping that warmer air lower because warmer air tends to rise. Let me know if this makes a difference. Try it out for yourself.
Well, the Northeast is known for its fall foliage, but that's not the only place where trees are putting on a show. Meteorologist William Stafford has a look at where the colors are really starting to shine.
Where they're really starting to see the color right now is up towards the Northeast, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, portions of New York, seeing moderate to high color and even low color all the way back through the Mason-Dixon line, all the way into areas around Minnesota, the UP of Michigan, on fire with color right now, along with the Dakotas. But where they've really seen a really explosive fall season so far, out into the Pacific Northwest and the Four Quarters area, portions of Montana, Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, lots of places reporting moderate to high color. In fact, they even might be past peak color in for areas around Wyoming. But again, a good chunk of the country just getting started with what should be a pretty good fall foliage season.
And folks all across the country are starting to notice that the days are getting shorter, but just how much daylight do we lose in October? Turns out, of course, it depends on where you live. Theron Zahn looks at what areas will see the biggest change.
October is a month where we lose a lot of daylight as fall progresses. If you live in the southern United States, you'll be losing between 30 and 50 minutes of daylight during the month of October. In the northern United States, that number's between 60 and 90 minutes of daylight. So the nights get longer, days get shorter until the end of December.
And check out these photos from Birmingham meteorologist James Spann posted on Instagram over the weekend. He says they show supernumerary bows over Gadsden, Alabama. Now, supernumerary bows are delicate, closely spaced arcs that are mostly green, pink, and purple hues. They appear just inside the primary rainbow. While the primary rainbow has a fixed number of colors, supernumeraries can vary in number and spacing from minute to minute. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, frost season is here. We'll find out exactly what it takes for frost to form. And this weekend, much of the country will see an annular solar eclipse. We'll find out where to get the best views when we come back.
An upper level low pressure system up to the north and west of us is going to stay up to the north. Could be some showers over towards parts of New York, Pennsylvania as we head through the day. And then as we head into the nighttime, for the most part, we're going to stay mainly dry all across the Northeast. Tuesday, once again, looks pretty dry. More clouds, chance for some showers over towards parts of New York. High temperatures for the daytime today will run a little bit milder south and east, cooler up towards Buffalo.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Up and down the 95 corridor, it looks like a dry start, also a crisp start for our Monday morning. By lunchtime, though, as the next weather maker moves in, clouds thickening up, and there will be some scattered showers around during the afternoon, more so isolated for a lot of areas. But look there in Virginia, could have a couple of heavier patches as well, so keep that in mind. And then those diminish after sunset. Boy, the clouds, though, keeping us cool, highs only in the 60s. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Jennifer Collins. It will be a mostly sunny start to the week across the southeast of the United States. A few clouds in parts of Florida as a frontal boundary works its way to the north by Tuesday. And then a lot more moisture surges in from the Gulf of Mexico heading into Tuesday, Wednesday, and into Thursday. That'll help increase our rain chances for parts of North Florida heading into the middle portion of the week. Highs on Monday ranging anywhere from the 60s, low 70s for the Carolinas, in the mid 80s in South Florida.
Presented by the National Weather Desk.
Colder temperatures this past weekend were a reminder that more of us will soon be seeing colors like these in Utah, or these in New York State. This spot in the Adirondacks is aptly named Mirror Lake. Speaking of colors, this is one of the most vibrant rainbows you will ever see. It was captured last week in Conway, South Carolina. But on Mount Hood, there is always the reminder that winter is coming.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
You know, you may have heard people say they can feel pain in their body when the temperatures drop, and we've had a lot of people ask us that question as well. Is it really true? Meteorologist Veronica Johnson sat down with Dr. John White to find the answer.
There's been data that has shown that every 10-degree drop in temperature starting in the fall is correlated with increased pain that people have. And what we think is happening is when there's change in barometric pressure, particularly indicating that rain is going to come, that inflames people's joints. So their joints are already swollen and inflamed to begin with, particularly when you have arthritis. So if you have this change in barometric pressure, that's going to cause your ligaments and your tendons to expand a little bit. And remember, the joints are a confined space. So whenever you have anything that's starting to get a little bigger, that's going to impact your nerves. That's going to cause more pain. So physiologically, that's what's happening. It's not in people's, mind that they're just starting to feel lousy when the weather changes. There's a reason of why that's occurring.
So would you advise someone, since there is a little bit of a relationship there between those low pressure systems and storms, would you advise someone maybe this is another reason to stay up on the weather forecast?
But your point is very good. You really should check the weather because we know that there is an association with changes in barometric pressure, changes in humidity, whether it's sunny or dreary out. That's going to impact your mood, but it's also going to impact your body as well. So the more information you have to take control of your own health is a good thing.
And with colder temperatures here now, a lot of folks are starting to see morning frost, but how does it form and just how cold do temperatures have to be? For the answer, return to meteorologist Kit Alexander.
Autumn chill brings a familiar sight that only comes with cooler temperatures. That is the formation of frost. Visually, frost can have many appearances, resembling flowers, tree branches, feathers, and several other patterns. Frost will form in one of two ways, either by frozen dew or freezing water vapor directly into its solid form. First, let's talk about the formation of frozen dew or dew frost. Dew frost forms when the temperature at the ground falls to the freezing point, or 32 degrees. This results in the accumulation of ice crystals on a surface or on the ground. While 32 degrees or below will provide the best frost conditions, frost will form as long as the temperature at the ground itself or any surface is 32 degrees. The air above the ground may be up to around 36 degrees. The second way frost will form is by freezing water vapor or gas directly into a solid. This results in hoarfrost. Have you seen frost that resembles tree branch patterns similar to snowflakes? Hoarfrost occurs when the temperature of air in its dew point, now known as the frost point, is at or below freezing. The water vapor droplets will directly freeze on the surface, which creates hoarfrost. With the arrival of cooler temperatures, we can expect more frost as we progress into the fall season.
As we've been telling you about, the leaves are really starting to show their colors, but for some areas, the change is happening a bit slower than normal. Missouri meteorologist Matt Gunn spoke with an expert to find out what's causing the delay.
The long-term impacts of a drought like we've had this summer is going to be that some trees are just going to see those leaves die and fall off, so you're going to miss that peak color. It's not necessarily something to be super concerned about. Most of the trees are still alive. It's just that the whole process needed for that color change just isn't going to happen because of the lack of water.
S did tell me that with the cooler air finally moving in, it'll help those colors begin to pop up.
When we talk about wanting fall color and wanting great fall foliage, we want those cold nights and somewhat warmer days. And so as we've got this colder weather coming in, that's actually shaping up pretty well for our fall foliage. It helps with the sugar breakdown in the leaves, which is what brings you that differing color. It's all part of the photosynthesis process. And so this cooler weather is actually hopefully going to help us out a little bit when it comes to getting us some of those pretty colors.
Vibrant reds, yellows, and oranges will fill area trees soon, but the reason behind those colors showing up is due to the different tree types.
It's going to go down to the chemical process in the leaves. The way that sugars break down and all these things are breaking down can change the way the leaf changes color. And so some trees are going to break down differently than others, and that's how you can see these really great variety images as we look out over the landscape in the fall.
In northeast Missouri, we can expect peak color to happen in 2 weeks. In southeast Iowa, peak fall color is expected by late October. I'm meteorologist Matt Gunn reporting.
And this Saturday, many parts of the country will get to see an annular eclipse. Meteorologist Katie Morgan explains what makes them so unique.
On October 14th, North, Central, and South America are in for a show as an annular eclipse will take place where the sun will be covered by the moon, not completely, but will form this what we call ring of fire. Now, I do want to stress that the annular eclipse is different from a total solar eclipse, and so you will need eye protection at all times if you're going to watch this eclipse, whether it's in its totality or if it's in its partial phase. Okay, so almost everyone in the U.S. will see the annular eclipse in some form. It won't be totality for everyone, but you'll at least be able to see a partial, and you can see on the map here where the actual eclipse is going to happen, which is this dark line, and that'll be where you have the complete ring of fire effect with the ring around the sun, and then everywhere else it's going to look like a partial solar eclipse. So highlighting those states again, you can see right here to the left, those are the states that will be in totality. And I know a lot of folks are going to be traveling to some of these towns that you see on the map to see the annular solar eclipse in full effect. For background, a solar eclipse is when the moon passes between the Earth and the sun and creates a shadow on the Earth. The difference between an annular eclipse and a total is the fact that an annular, which is what we'll see on the 14th, the the moon is actually at its farthest point away from Earth in its orbit. So it doesn't completely cover the sun and creates that sort of halo or what we call ring of fire effect. In a total solar eclipse, which is what we saw in 2017, and what we will see again in 2024 for some folks in the US, that is when the moon completely covers the sun and it becomes dark in the middle of daytime.
And before a short break, let's take a look at some of those changing leaves in Virginia.
Well, a very good Monday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. Taking a look at your weather story across the Midwest. We've got a lot of sunshine across the plains. Temperatures starting to warm up a little bit, but we are still pretty cool across a lot of the Ohio Valley with some showers still spinning around Michigan from that huge area of low pressure up into Canada. Temperatures slowly warming up this week. We have some developing rain by the middle of the week across the plains with a warm front. It's going to leave us warmer. Look at that. We're getting into the 80s across the southern Midwest for your Wednesday.
Good Monday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Suchet. Look at our forecast today across the region. Starting off with some nice cool temperatures, 50s and 60s. The afternoon, really a beautiful day. A lot of sunshine, really not much of a rain chance. Highs will be in the 80s across the region. Now, we head into Tuesday's forecast. Pacific moisture will be coming in from what is Lydia, and that will work its way across South Texas. A little bit of rain, keep the temperatures in the 70s, while the rest of the region has a beautiful day in the low to mid 80s.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Monday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, still plenty of heat considering it's October in the desert Southwest. Back to an even 100 degrees in the Valley of the Sun in Phoenix today versus 71, starting to cool back off after last week's Santa Ana winds and heat in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, up in the Pacific Northwest, here comes a big front marching in here on October afternoon. You can see the rain taking over in Seattle and Portland later today. And that's the scene from here.
Well, there are many different weather folklore used to predict how cold winter will be. Meteorologist Kristen Clark has a look at one.
Can the woolly bear caterpillar really predict winter weather? According to weather folklore, the amount of black on the woolly bear in autumn can foretell the severity of the coming winter. Longer black bands indicate a severe winter, whereas a wide middle brown band means a mild winter. Supposedly, the position of the longest dark band indicates which part of winter will be coldest. And according to this caterpillar, the beginning of winter will be severe. Turns out this weather folklore is false. Instead, the growing season and caterpillar age dictate their color. However, the hardworking forecasters at NOAA's Climate Prediction Center have a more reliable and accurate winter outlook. Their long-range forecast hints at warmer than normal conditions across the northern U.S. and Alaska during December, January, and February, along with a dry bias, especially for the Intermountain West and Great Lakes. With the help of continued El Nino conditions potentially altering the jet stream in a way that steers storms across the southern U.S., above normal precipitation is favored from Louisiana to North Carolina this winter season. So we'll leave the woolly bear caterpillar to weather folklore.
And thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at why water spouts are so common along the Great Lakes during this time of the year. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Monday, and we're going to see you right back here